My sister has weaponized victimhood to compete with every accomplishment in my life by manufacturing crises that steal all attention and sympathy. I got engaged and she claimed someone assaulted her the same week. I got promoted and she suddenly developed a mystery illness. I finally caught her faking and the family is imploding. Nobody wants to believe their golden child is a pathological liar who's been manipulating everyone for years. I need to write this down because I feel like I'm losing my mind and everyone in my family is telling me I'm a horrible person for exposing my sister. 4 days ago, I provided proof that my sister has been faking medical emergencies and personal crises for years to steal attention from my accomplishments. Instead of thanking me for revealing the truth, my family is acting like I'm the villain. I don't know if I did the right thing or if I just destroyed my family for nothing. I'm 29F, and my sister Vanessa is 26F. We grew up in a pretty typical middle-class family. 2 parents who loved us. Nice house in the suburbs. Good schools. Nothing dramatic or traumatic that would explain what Vanessa has become. For most of our childhood, we had a normal sibling relationship. We fought sometimes, but we also played together and had fun. She was my little sister, and I looked out for her. Things started changing when Vanessa was in high school. She'd always been dramatic, but suddenly everything was a crisis. She'd come home crying about friend drama at least once a week. She'd have panic attacks before tests. She'd claim teachers were targeting her unfairly. My parents would drop everything to come for her and solve her problems. I remember thinking she was just being a teenager and would grow out of it. Then I graduated high school with honors and got accepted to a good university. My parents threw me a small graduation party. The day of the party, Vanessa locked herself in her room and refused to come out. She said she was having a panic attack because thinking about me leaving for college was too overwhelming. My parents spent half my graduation party trying to coax her out of her room. When she finally came out, everyone was so focused on making sure she was okay that my celebration kind of faded into the background. At the time, I felt bad for her. I thought she was genuinely struggling with anxiety about me leaving. Looking back now, I realize that was the first time she successfully hijacked my moment. Throughout college, the pattern continued, but I didn't recognize it yet. When I got my first serious boyfriend, Vanessa attempted something that landed her in the hospital the week I brought him home to meet the family. My parents were at the hospital with her, so the family dinner was canceled. When I graduated college with honors, Vanessa's longtime boyfriend broke up with her 2 days before the ceremony. She was so devastated my parents almost didn't come to my graduation. When I got my first real job after college, Vanessa got fired from her retail position the same week. My parents were so worried about her financial situation and her self-esteem that they barely acknowledged my achievement. When I got my first promotion, Vanessa's roommate kicked her out and she had to move back home. All anyone could talk about was Vanessa's housing crisis. I started noticing a pattern, but I felt guilty for even thinking it. Was my sister really that unlucky that every major event in my life coincided with a crisis in hers? Or was something else going on? I pushed the thoughts away, because what kind of person suspects their own sister of manufacturing problems for attention? 2 years ago, I met my now fiancé, Marcus. He's amazing and I knew pretty quickly he was the one. After we'd been dating for 6 months, I brought him home for Thanksgiving. Everything was going great until Vanessa pulled me aside and told me she needed to talk. She said a guy from her gym had been following her and making her uncomfortable. She said she thought he might have followed her home. She was shaking and crying. My parents immediately went into crisis mode. They wanted to call the police. They wanted Vanessa to stay home from work. They wanted to install security cameras. Thanksgiving dinner turned into an emergency family meeting about how to keep Vanessa safe. Marcus and I barely spoke to anyone because everyone was focused on Vanessa. Over the next few weeks, the stalker situation escalated according to Vanessa. She said he was showing up at her work. She said he was sending her messages on social media. She said she was terrified. My parents were beside themselves with worry. They paid for her to take time off work. They drove her everywhere because she was too scared to go alone. Then suddenly it stopped. Vanessa said the guy had moved away or lost interest. She never filed a police report despite my parents begging her to. She said she just wanted to move on and forget about it. My parents were relieved it was over. I was suspicious, but I kept my mouth shut. Last year, Marcus proposed to me. I was over the moon. We told my parents at a family dinner, and they were happy for us. We started talking about wedding plans. Then 3 days later, Vanessa called my mom hysterical. She said a guy had assaulted her at a party. Everything stopped. My engagement announcement was forgotten. All anyone could talk about was Vanessa. My mom took her to the hospital for an exam. My dad wanted to find the guy and handle it himself. Vanessa gave a statement to police, but said she didn't want to press charges because the trauma was too much. She started therapy. She couldn't work. She moved back home again. My engagement celebration never happened. Every time I tried to talk about wedding planning, my mom would say it wasn't a good time because Vanessa was going through something. When I said I was hurt that my engagement was being overshadowed, my mom said I was being selfish and that Vanessa needed support right now. I started planning my wedding anyway. I set a date for this October. I picked my bridesmaids. I found a venue. Every time I shared something about the wedding, Vanessa would have a breakdown. She'd say she was happy for me, but that thinking about my wedding reminded her of her trauma. She'd say she didn't know if she could handle being in the wedding party. She'd cry and my parents would comfort her while shooting me looks like I was being insensitive. 6 months ago, I got a major promotion at work. It came with a big raise and a new title. I was so excited. I called my parents to tell them and they congratulated me but said they couldn't talk long because Vanessa was having a bad day. I asked what was wrong, and my mom said Vanessa had developed some mysterious health symptoms. Chronic fatigue and pain that doctors couldn't explain. She was going through tests. Over the next few months, Vanessa's mystery illness became the focus of every family interaction. She was always too tired to do anything. She was always in pain. She had doctor's appointments constantly. My mom would send updates in the family group chat about Vanessa's symptoms and test results. My promotion was never mentioned again after that first phone call. I started doing research on Vanessa's supposed condition. I joined some chronic illness groups online to understand what she might be going through. But something felt off. The way Vanessa described her symptoms didn't quite match what other people with similar conditions described. And her symptoms seemed to flare up specifically when attention wasn't on her. Then 2 months ago, something happened that made me start documenting everything. We had a family dinner where I showed everyone my wedding dress. I'd finally found the perfect one, and I was so excited. Everyone looked at the photos and said nice things. Then Vanessa said she didn't feel well and needed to lie down. She went upstairs, and 20 minutes later, my mom went to check on her. Vanessa was passed out on the bathroom floor. My mom screamed. My dad called 911. We all went to the hospital. Vanessa woke up in the ambulance and said she didn't remember what happened. At the hospital, they ran tests but found nothing wrong. The doctor said it might have been a vasovagal response or dehydration. Here's the thing, though. I'd gone upstairs to get my purse right before Vanessa passed out. I'd walked past the bathroom and seen Vanessa sitting on the floor with her phone out. She wasn't unconscious. She was scrolling through social media. Then 5 minutes later, my mom found her passed out in the exact same spot. I didn't say anything because I didn't have proof. But I started paying closer attention. I started noticing things, like how Vanessa's chronic pain would suddenly disappear when she was doing something she enjoyed. How her panic attacks always happened right when someone else was getting attention. How her crises always had convenient timing. I started keeping notes on my phone. Every time something good happened to me, I'd note what happened with Vanessa immediately after. The pattern was undeniable. Good news for me equals crisis for Vanessa. Every single time. 3 weeks ago, I decided to test my theory. I told my family I'd been nominated for an award at work. It was true, but it wasn't a big deal. Just a nice recognition. I made it sound more important than it was. I waited to see what would happen. 2 days later, Vanessa called my mom crying. She said she'd been in a minor car accident. Nobody was hurt, but her car needed repairs. She said she was shaken up and couldn't afford to fix the car. My parents immediately offered to pay for the repairs and to let her borrow their car. The conversation about my award never happened again. Here's where I did something that makes me either smart or terrible depending on who you ask. I followed Vanessa the day she claimed to have the accident. I took the day off work and parked outside her apartment. When she left, I followed her, keeping a safe distance. She drove around normally for a while. Then she parked at a mall and went shopping. There was no accident.
Her car was fine.
I took photos and videos of her car showing no damage. I documented the timeline. Then I went home and started going through everything else. I requested medical records with Vanessa's permission, claiming I wanted to help her find a specialist for her mystery illness. I looked through social media posts. I talked to her former roommate, who she claimed kicked her out. What I found was damning. There were no medical records supporting her chronic illness. Just a few visits where she complained of vague symptoms and doctors found nothing wrong. Her former roommate said Vanessa had moved out voluntarily when she got back together with an ex-boyfriend. There was no stalker. I found the guy Vanessa claimed had been stalking her, and he had no idea who she was. The assault she reported? The case had been closed because her story had inconsistencies and she'd stopped cooperating with the investigation. I compiled everything into a document. Photos, timelines, medical records, statements from people, a detailed list of every crisis Vanessa had claimed and the timing of each one in relation to something good happening to me. It was 40 pages long. The evidence was overwhelming. I struggled with what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to confront Vanessa privately. Part of me wanted to just distance myself and stop sharing things with my family. But part of me was so angry about years of stolen moments that I wanted everyone to know the truth. Last week was my bridal shower. My maid of honor threw me a beautiful party. About 20 women were there, including my mom and Vanessa. Everything was going perfectly. I was opening gifts and laughing with friends. I felt genuinely happy and celebrated for the first time in years. Then Vanessa's phone rang. She stepped outside to take the call. When she came back and she was crying. She said her best friend had been in a serious accident and was in the ICU. She said she had to leave immediately to go to the hospital. Everyone rushed to hug her and tell her they were praying for her friend. My mom said she'd drive Vanessa to the hospital. Just like that, my bridal shower became about Vanessa's crisis. Something in me snapped. I said very loudly that Vanessa didn't need to leave. I said her friend was fine and there was no accident. Everyone stared at me. Vanessa looked shocked and said, "How dare I accuse her of lying about something so serious?" She started crying harder. I pulled out my phone and showed everyone the document I'd compiled. I started going through it point by point. Every faked crisis. Every lie. Every time Vanessa had manufactured drama to steal attention from my accomplishments. I showed the photos of her undamaged car after the supposed accident. I showed the medical records showing no evidence of chronic illness. I showed everything. The room went silent. My mom said I must have made a mistake. Vanessa was sobbing and saying I was crazy and cruel. My maid of honor looked uncomfortable. Several guests started gathering their things to leave. The shower fell apart completely. My mom took Vanessa home. My dad called me later that night and said I'd humiliated my sister and ruined my own bridal shower. He said even if I had concerns about Vanessa, there was a time and place, and a public confrontation wasn't it. He said I owed Vanessa an apology. I refused to apologize. I said Vanessa owed me an apology for years of manipulation. I said she'd stolen my engagement celebration, my graduation celebrations, my promotion celebration, and now she'd tried to hijack my bridal shower. I said I was done pretending her behavior was okay. The next few days were chaos. Some family members reached out saying they believed me. Others said I was horrible for attacking Vanessa when she was vulnerable. My mom called and said Vanessa had attempted something because of the humiliation I caused. I asked for details. My mom was vague. She said Vanessa was safe, but that I needed to understand the severity of what I'd done. I asked if Vanessa was in the hospital. My mom said no, but that she easily could have been. I asked her if she'd actually seen any evidence of an attempt, or if she was taking Vanessa's word for it. My mom hung up on me. Here's the thing that's making me question everything. Some family members looked at my evidence and believed me. My cousin said she'd always thought something was off about Vanessa, but could never put her finger on it. My aunt said the timeline was too consistent to be coincidence. Marcus believes me completely and has been my rock through this. But my parents refuse to even look at the evidence properly. They've decided I'm jealous and vindictive. They say even if some of Vanessa's crises weren't as serious as she claimed, that doesn't mean she's been deliberately manipulating everyone. They say Vanessa is sensitive and troubled and needs support, not accusations. My dad said something that really got to me. He said that even if I'm right about some things, I went about exposing it in the cruelest way possible. He said I destroyed my own bridal shower and humiliated my sister in front of 20 people. He said I could have talked to him and my mom privately, and they could have addressed it as a family. He said I chose the nuclear option, and now everyone is suffering. And maybe he's right about that. Maybe I should have handled it differently. But I'd been watching Vanessa steal my moments for years. I'd watched her fake illnesses and crises, and everyone fall for it every single time. I'd tried hinting to my parents that something was off, and they'd dismissed me. Part of me wanted them to see it happen in real time. I wanted witnesses. My wedding is in 3 months. My parents are saying they won't come unless I apologize to Vanessa. Half my extended family has taken sides.
Some are team me.
Some are team Vanessa. Some are trying to stay neutral and saying we all need family therapy. My maid of honor has been amazing, but I can tell even she thinks I could have handled it better. Vanessa has been posting cryptically on social media about betrayal and cruelty from people you trust. She's getting tons of sympathy comments. People who weren't at the shower and don't know the full story are sending her messages of support. She's positioned herself as the victim again, which is exactly what she always does. I've been going through old photos and memories trying to understand when Vanessa became like this. Was she always a pathological liar and I just didn't see it? Or did something happen that turned her into someone who needs to be the center of attention at all times? My parents insist she's just struggling with mental health issues and needs compassion. But at what point does mental illness become an excuse for manipulation? My therapist says what Vanessa has been doing is a form of emotional abuse. She says manufacturing crises to control family dynamics is manipulative behavior. She says I had a right to set boundaries and expose the truth. But she also says the way I did it was probably driven by years of accumulated hurt and anger rather than from a calm, rational place.
She's right.
I was hurt and angry. I'd watched my sister fake her way through life while I worked hard for everything. I'd watched her steal my graduation, my engagement, my promotion. I'd watched her pretend to be sick, stalked, assaulted, and injured, all to take attention away from me. So yes, when I had proof, I wanted everyone to see it. I wanted vindication. But now I'm sitting here 3 months before my wedding with half my family not speaking to me. My parents are devastated. My sister is playing the victim better than ever. And I'm wondering if exposing her was worth losing my family over. Reddit, I need honest opinions here. Did I do the right thing by exposing my sister's lies? Should I have handled it privately instead of at my bridal shower? Am I the villain for humiliating her publicly even though she's been manipulating the family for years? Should I apologize to keep the peace even though I don't think I did anything wrong? I keep going back and forth. Sometimes I feel justified. I had proof. I showed it. People deserve to know the truth. But other times I feel like I let anger drive my decisions and I destroyed my family for revenge rather than justice. Marcus says I should stand my ground. He says Vanessa has been emotionally abusing me and the family for years, and that exposing her was necessary. He says if my parents can't see that, then maybe they shouldn't come to the wedding. But these are my parents. Do I really want to get married without them there? My maid of honor thinks I should apologize for the method, but not the message. She says I was right to expose Vanessa, but wrong to do it at my own bridal shower. She says a private family meeting would have been better. She might be right, but would my parents have believed me without witnesses? They dismissed me every other time I tried to bring up concerns about Vanessa. Some of the guests from the shower have reached out. Reactions are mixed. Some said they'd suspected Vanessa was dramatic, but had no idea the extent of it. Others said they felt uncomfortable being part of a family confrontation. One woman said she understood why I did it, but that it made the whole event awkward, and she wishes she hadn't been there. I've been looking at my wedding invitations. My parents' names are on them as hosts. My sister is listed as a bridesmaid. I don't know if any of that is going to happen now. Part of me wants to uninvite Vanessa completely. Part of me wants to reach out to my parents and try to fix things. Part of me wants to elope and avoid the whole mess. The worst part is that I don't even feel happy about my wedding anymore. What should be one of the best times of my life has turned into this nightmare of family drama. And in a twisted way, Vanessa has succeeded again. She's made my wedding about her. Even though I exposed her lies, she's still the center of attention. Everyone is focused on her feelings and her reaction. My wedding has become background noise to her latest crisis. Maybe that's what makes me most angry. Even when I try to take back my moments, she still found a way to steal them. By playing the victim of my exposure, she's gotten more sympathy than ever. Family members who might have believed me if she'd just stayed quiet are now defending her because they saw her crying and breaking down. I talked to the friend who Vanessa claimed was in an accident. The one that made her leave my bridal shower. The friend had no idea what I was talking about. She wasn't in any accident. She hadn't even talked to Vanessa in months. Vanessa had made the whole thing up. I showed my parents proof of this. My mom said maybe Vanessa got confused about which friend it was. She's still making excuses. How do you deal with a family that refuses to see the truth even when it's right in front of them? How do you move forward when the person who hurt you is being protected by everyone else? How do you get married and celebrate your life when half your family has chosen your manipulative sister over you? I don't have answers to any of these questions. I just know I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from competing for attention with manufactured crises. I'm exhausted from being made to feel guilty for having accomplishments. I'm exhausted from being told I'm cruel for exposing lies. I'm exhausted from this whole situation. Tell me, Reddit, did I do the right thing? Am I the asshole here? Should I apologize? Should I uninvite my family from the wedding? Should I try to repair things with my parents even though they won't acknowledge what Vanessa has done? I'm completely lost. Update. Things have somehow gotten even more complicated since I posted. Thank you to everyone who shared their experiences with manipulative family members. It helped me feel less alone. Here's what's happened. My parents agreed to meet with me and Marcus to discuss everything. I thought maybe they were ready to actually look at the evidence. Instead, they ambushed me with a therapist they'd hired who specialized in family conflict resolution. The therapist hadn't seen any of my documentation. She'd only heard my parents' and Vanessa's side. The session was basically them trying to get me to apologize. I refused and walked out. Marcus came with me. He told my parents that they'd enabled Vanessa's behavior for years and that they owed me an apology, not the other way around. My dad told Marcus to stay out of it, since he wasn't family yet. Marcus said in 3 months he would be family and that he'd always take my side when I was being treated unfairly. Several guests from the bridal shower have come forward privately to say they'd witnessed similar behavior from Vanessa at other events. One woman said Vanessa had faked a panic attack at her wedding years ago. Another said Vanessa had claimed to be sick at a baby shower she attended. They'd all thought it was just Vanessa being dramatic, but seeing all the evidence together made them realize it was a pattern. I shared this with my parents. They said these women were just piling on, and that of course people would support me since I was the bride. They said Vanessa has always been more sensitive than me, and that sensitivity isn't the same as manipulation. They still won't admit there's a pattern. Vanessa posted a long Facebook post about how she's always struggled with her mental health and how hard it is when your own family doesn't support you. She didn't mention me by name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. The post got hundreds of supportive comments. She's playing the victim beautifully, like always. My maid of honor suggested we have a separate small gathering with just the people who support me and skip the big family drama. Part of me likes this idea. Part of me is heartbroken that it's come to this. I've decided Vanessa is not invited to my wedding. I sent her a message saying that based on the pattern of behavior I've documented, I can't trust her not to create a crisis on my wedding day. She responded by saying I'm proving her point about how cruel I am. My parents are furious about this decision. My parents have said they won't come to the wedding if Vanessa isn't invited. I told them that was their choice, but my decision stands. My dad said I'm tearing the family apart. I said Vanessa tore the family apart years ago by lying and manipulating, and that I'm just refusing to enable it anymore. Marcus and I are considering eloping and doing a celebration with just friends afterward. This isn't how I wanted my wedding to be, but I'm not willing to compromise my day just to keep peace with people who refuse to see the truth. Some extended family have reached out to say they'll be at the wedding no matter what. My cousin offered to walk me down the aisle if my dad won't. My aunt said she believes me and that she's seen Vanessa's behavior firsthand over the years. Having this support helps. To everyone who said I should have kept quiet and not rocked the boat, I understand that perspective, but I disagree. Vanessa's manipulation was only going to continue and escalate. She was already planning to make my wedding about her. Better to expose her now than let her ruin my actual wedding day. And to those who said I'm just as bad as Vanessa for exposing her publicly, I showed evidence of actual lies and manipulation. I didn't make anything up. I didn't fake any crises. I told the truth. Those aren't the same thing. I'm sad about how this is all played out. I'm sad my parents are choosing Vanessa's feelings over objective evidence. I'm sad my sister has spent years competing with me using victimhood as a weapon. But I'm not sorry I exposed her. Someone needed to hold her accountable. My wedding will happen with or without my parents there. I'm marrying someone who sees the truth and stands by me. That's more valuable than maintaining fake peace with people who enable manipulation. Thank you, Reddit, for helping me see I'm not crazy. Sometimes you need strangers on the internet to tell you your family is gaslighting you. I'm moving forward with the people who actually support me and leaving behind the ones who enable abuse.